Hi, my name is DelmarshaeWalker. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is doing great today. I want to start this video off by reading two definitions for perspective. The first one, it says a particular attitude towards or a way of regarding something, a point of view. The second one is perspective implies a viewpoint, a place from which we are looking at our lives and the world around us. The reason I wanted to kind of start off with perspective and talk about perspective is everything that's going on with the Jewish community and a lot of things that have been said, and people are looking at it as being anti-Jewish. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I have Jewish friends, because I don't. You know, a lot of times you hear people, they're like, oh, I got a gay friend, I got a black friend, I got a white friend, whatever the situation is, they got that friend. So I'm not even going to sit here and insult anyone's intelligence. I don't have any Jewish friends. If I ever interacted with a Jewish person as far as school, work, or whatever it may have been, I don't know, because I didn't ask anyone, you know, are you Jewish? You know, because a lot of times you will look at a Jewish person and, to be honest, they just look like they're white. And so so I really don't know. And like I said, I'm not saying that to be insulting or anything like that, or, dismissive or anything like that. Because I am a nerd, and because I love history just in general, regardless of what it is, or science and stuff like that. I'm just a curious person by nature. And so I have watched things like Schindler's List, movies like The Diary of Anne Frank, because I have watched a documentary that was based on Hitler. You know, how he grew up, like when he was born, his parents, how he grew up and everything, how he became in power. Initially, how he was for his people, and then it switched. I understand being anti-Semitic because it started off with Hitler feeling like everything that was wrong with his country had to do with the Jewish people. And so they started, separating them, and how they had to wear the yellow stars and different things on them to identify them as being Jewish and separate them from German people. And then as time went on, everything got worse and worse. And, then the actual Holocaust and the killing of the Jewish people. So I do understand that. And like I said, I sat there and sat on my own, not because I was assigned to do that, but just sat on my own and watched that documentary. Because like I said, I'm just interested in what happened in the past, and I'm just a curious person. So I do understand the persecution of Jewish people. And I feel that even as a black Christian, as well as a woman, because I said it before, I feel that I'm part of three of the most hated groups. I'm black, I'm Christian, and I'm a woman. So especially with black people, I feel that we do understand the persecution of Jews. But at the same time, we I feel like as black people, we're asked a lot of time to understand and sympathize with other people. But when we say something about certain races, it's a problem. But do anyone ever really sympathize with what we're going through? We're in the United States. The United States is the country that enslaved us. The United States is the country who told us that we're not good enough, who's always pushed us to the back. And, we had to fight for everything we had to fight in this country to get. And so then when we say, hey, it's historical of the things that we have went through, just like everything y'all went through is historical. I would never take that away from any person that is Jewish, but please don't take away our suffering either. So if we're in a situation, and that's why I said I don't want to make this about race, I want to make this about perspective, because I feel that a lot of times I can't speak up because I might offend someone else. Then when can my pain ever stop? When can I ever move past what I'm going through? Unless I'm able and freely able, not with hate, not trying to cause other, because we can't really control how other people react to what we say. So if we're saying something, we're not saying it to be hateful. We're saying it based on our perspective. That's just like me. When I want to go to a beauty supply store, there's one almost everywhere, regardless of what state I go to, regardless of what neighborhood I go to. There's a beauty supply store that are owned by a certain racial or ethnic group. Like I said, because this is not about race, it's more or less about perspective. I'm not going to call any race out. But, you know, other black people understand, just for me saying that, they understand what I'm talking about. And so if I'm getting upset, I'm getting mad, and I say, hey, this certain group of people, they own all the beauty supply stores. And based on my perspective, it's true, because every store I go to are owned by a certain group of people. But is that nationwide, globally, everyone? No, they don't own every last beauty supply store in the country, you know, in the world. They don't. But based on my perspective, based on the different areas I have went to, based on the different stores I have went to, that's what I'm seeing. A certain group of people that owns the majority of the beauty supply store. The same thing with if you're going to get your nails done. Certain group of people kind of dominate that field of having, you know, when you go get your nails done, you're gonna run into a certain group of people that owns the shop and work in the shop based on your perspective, based on the environment that you're in. So when Ye was talking about the music industry and other black people are talking about the music industry based on their perspective, who they're dealing with, who they're coming in contact with, happen to be Jewish. That's not being anti-Semitic. All that is saying is, hey, these are the people, when I go to negotiate contract, make dealings, these are the people that I'm in contact with. When it comes to the music, the movie industry, it's the same thing. A lot of executives and different people like that own those places. So if you're saying something about, hey, I'm in this environment, this based on my perspective, based on what I'm seeing, based on my environment, based on the dealings I have at this level, when I went to a different studio, when I went to a different company, whatever it may be, I'm dealing with the same race or group of people. So based on my perspective, they own all this or they own all that. And like I said, I do understand, based on what happened with Hitler, it can be looked at as being anti-Semitic. But if you're just vocalizing your truth, it can't be. You know, you can't try to stop people from vocalizing their truth. Why not go after the people that's doing the hate, and not the people that's saying, hey, this is my problem, this is my experience, this is what I'm seeing? Because like I said, I do understand, but at the same time, please understand our pain. Please understand that we suffer the same, you know, with every, you know, we're suffering also. So you can't tell one group of people that's suffering not to say anything, because now you're being like the people that you had the issue with. You know, if no one said anything about what was going on with the Holocaust, if everybody would have kept it hush hush, how long would it have happened? So it's like we're going through a certain situation in our lives as black people that we're basically tired. You know, we want to be able to freely speak up about situation that, or our experiences with different people, without saying be quiet, hush up, silence, sit down, don't say anything, because that's all has been going on with us. And like I said, I'm not, you know, dismissing anyone's pain, but I can't overlook what's going on with my own people. And so it's more or less about perspective and not about hate. And like I said, no one should hate anyone. No one should just go around being violent to anyone, because that doesn't solve any problems. All it does is create other issues. And so that's all I want to say about that. Just, it's more about perspective. And I feel that people should understand that. sometimes depending on where you're at, you're only going to deal with certain type of people. That's just how things are. And in Hollywood, in the music business, it's a lot of Jewish people there, which is a true statement. Do that mean every Jewish person, they own everything in the world? They over all the economy, no. And if anyone believe that, that's their ignorance. You know, so, but if you're dealing in a certain business, you're gonna just run into a certain type of people, and that's who you're gonna have to deal with. Like I said, if I went to a beauty supply store, I'm dealing with a certain type of people. And if I say, hey, every time I go to, no matter what beauty supply store I go to, it's the same race of people. Like I said, some people will automatically understand what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, because they're having the same experience. Their perspective based on where they're going, different location, even if they just go out of town somewhere, they're going to go into a beauty supply store. More than likely, it's going to be the same group of people that's owning it. And that's facts. It's facts, and that's just the way of life. Some people just have monopoly over certain certain professions. They just have a monopoly over that, and that's a fact, and that's just the way it is. And so that's all I want to say, say about that. But I also want to talk about something else. It's kind of like it's on the same wavelength, but it's kind of different. I'm always talking about being mindful of how other people react to certain things. When certain things come up, how do other people react? How quickly do they come up and oppose what is being said, oppose what people are talking about? You know, I did a video a while back, and in the video I had posted a clip where this preacher was talking about certain things. So I'm going to go ahead. I think it's going to be 3 or 4 clips that I want to put into this video. And like I said, sometimes it's your own people that will hold you down. Sometimes it's your own people that will stop you from striving, surviving, and moving forward in life. So the 3 or 4 videos that I'm going to show, I'm going to just show them back to back. They're touching on that. So I really want you to pay attention to the videos, pay attention to what's going on in today's time, and also on the videos, because like I said, sometimes you just can't trust the people that are standing in front of you saying, yeah, I'm here to help you. They're really not. They're really not. So just go ahead and watch these videos.
Pledge to some deity God, and then they have their allegiance to that fraternity. No matter what they say about Christ, they allegiance to that fraternity. And when the elitists and the people in high positions want to do something, they pick from those people who already know how to keep secrets, who already have sold out, who already have made a blood covenant. Y'all don't want to talk about this. And this is the reason why no matter how good and talented and good you are, people like that don't get nowhere unless they go into one of these societies. So go study the Black Greek society and you'll find out why we're the way we are. Most of the preachers in this city are part of these societies. Most mega church preachers are part of these black fraternities. And this is called the Boule. The Boule is the black clan. They was put in place over blacks to keep blacks down. The white people chose blacks, those educated, Morehouse, Howard College, Tuskegee type cats. They formed a fraternity under the Prince Hall Freemasons and came up with the Divine Nine, which is all of them alphas and kappas and betas and sigmas and psi phis and all that. And those are the ones that they keeping as gatekeepers over the black people. That's the reason why we can't rise. Jesse Jackson is I think he's Sigma Phi, and he's a high degree Freemason. Al Sharpton, the high degree Freemason.
Massive business decision for them to cut ties with Kanye West, but as Joe pointed out, they're the last of many companies to walk away from him. This guy who has made a lot of people a lot of money over the years.
I mean, Kanye is a great artist, but it is now clear that it's intentional. When you just played a soundbite where he says I say something anti-Semitic and they can't drop me. So we're not even arguing about whether it is intentional now. Some of us, 25 years ago, Mrs. King sat me down and said, whether you mean it or not, you're saying things that are harmful and that could be interpreted wrong. You need to clean it up. Joe Scarborough and I had honest talks about that. This is not saying I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the inference. This is somebody owning this. So if he's going to own that he's anti-Semitic, how can Adidas use him or anybody else to advertise what they're saying? He's saying that George Floyd didn't die of the knee, that it was drugs. So, I mean, how many times is he going to cross the line and now even having banners raised saying, praising him as being anti-Semitic, and you're going to have him advertise your product? That is not, the bottom line decision shouldn't be that. Do you have a moral compass? Every company ought to ask.
And now let's move on to Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton, I knew, again, back to the mid to the late 70s, the way I originally met him. And by the way, he was associated with other guys in my life. A guy in particular by the name of Danny Pagano, who was with another family, but he was a soldier in that family. And Al Sharpton used to answer to him. So I met Al because I was associated, my dad was associated with a company called Spring Records in the record business. Roy and Julie Rifkin were the two owners. And they used to engage Al Sharpton to bring them black talent to their record label. And they would actually pay him for it. He was kind of a gun for hire. Al, go out and get me some people, some of your black talent, bring it to the record company. If we sign them, we'll pay you for it. So that's how I originally met Al. And if you met Al back then, you wouldn't recognize him. He was pretty heavy set, used to wear warm-up suits, had long hair, gold chains around his neck. He was a character. I don't know how much of a reverend that he was, but he was certainly a character. So we became friendly during that time. Two instances in particular with Reverend Al that I can talk about. One, I had a security guard union that was under my control. A guy by the name of Danny Cunningham operated that union, but it was under my control. Danny was with me. And we had a plan to unionize the security guards in Atlantic City. First, the restaurant and bartender workers, we were going to unionize them also, but the real serious play was with the security guards under Danny Cunningham. At that time, Nicky Scarfa, he had some influence in Atlantic City. I met up with Nicky. By the way, many of you have asked me about him. I know his reputation, pretty violent. He and I got along well. I like Nicky a lot. We met with him a couple of times and always got along great. So we were going to unionize them, and what we needed people to picket the hotels. So I go to Al. I said, Al, I need your help. You're going to round up some of your crew, and we're going to picket the hotels in Atlantic City so that we can get the security guards to unionize there. And I'm going to quote this. I don't want to be offensive, but I'm going to quote what Al Sharpton said to me, and you could take this to the bank. He said to me, Michael, you pay me good, and I'll have a few busloads of use the N word, there day and night picketing that building. That was Al Sharpton. He was a gun for hire. Yes, he used his people at that time to make money. That's what Al was all about back then, okay? I'm not going to comment on what he is today. He says he's transformed his life. In many ways, I see, some of the things that he did back then, he seems to be doing today. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not involved with him anymore. Another situation with Al. I was a subject of an undercover operation called shadow boxing. The FBI had put an undercover operation together where they were trying to see how organized crime was infiltrating professional boxing. The targets of that investigation were Don King and myself, because they knew that I had some influence in professional boxing. My dad did before me, and a lot of my associates did. We were heavily involved in the game. So they put an undercover operation together where an undercover FBI agent by the name of Victor Guerrero, that's the name that he used, came and approached me. And they had taken a guy out of prison by the name of Reggie Barrett. He was in prison, but he was closely associated with Muhammad Ali. So he knew the boxing game. So these two posed as two people that were wealthy that wanted to get into the boxing business. So they had this undercover operation under me for about 7 or 8 months, on me for 7 or 8 months, where they were actually wiring themselves up, taping themselves up. They posed that they were once South American drug dealers, but they hadn't been dealing with drugs anymore, but they had several $1,000,000 in a bank account that I was able to verify. The FBI set up a bank account in the Midwest. They put about 15 million in it, or said there was 15 million in it. And I was around these people for about 7 or 8 months. I didn't trust them 100% yet to bring them to Don King. I was trying to feel them out, trying to see where they really were all about, because I can only trace them back so far. Anyway, they were good. They got me fairly comfortable. After about 8 months, what I learned later on, they had about 80 tape recordings on me. But during this whole time, I brought Al Sharpton into this, and I introduced Sharpton to them, and I said, this is going to be the guy who's going to set up the meeting with Don King when I tell him we're ready to do that. So Al Sharpton was the go-between between King and myself. By the way, everything I'm telling you here was highly publicized. I think 48 hours, Brian Gumbel, Real Sports did a whole 15, 20-minute deal on it. It was all over the newspapers. Sports Illustrated did a cover story on it called Shadowboxing. So what I'm telling you now, you can verify. Everything I tell you, you can document at some point. This is all a known fact. So at the appropriate time, I say, Al, okay, I'm comfortable enough to bring these guys to Don King. Let's do it. So Al sets up the meeting with Don King. Don King was associated with some of my mob affiliates over in Cleveland, so he understood the game, the business, so on and so forth. So we go to visit Don King in his offices in Manhattan at the time. Al Sharpton was there. Before I bring Reggie Barrett and Victor into the office with Don, I went and seen Don myself. I said, Al, excuse us for a minute, I want to talk to Don alone. So I said, Don, look, I verified that these guys got $15 million minimum in the bank. They were drug dealers at one time. They claimed they cleaned up their act. I've had them around me for 8 months. I'm fairly comfortable with them, but I cannot trace them any further back than that. So here's what I want you to do. They want to be into the business. They want to invest their money. I know if they're legit, we can use it. We can make some money. But today, I want you to keep everything above board. Don't say anything out of the way. No shady deals. Keep everything straight, 100%. He says to me, I got it, Michael. I bring Victor and Reggie in. We have a meeting. Don is perfect. Explains to them the fight game, the whole bit. Tells them how they get involved, how their investment would be used, the whole bit, right? And we leave. Now, in the interim, okay, because the next point for me was, okay, show me the money. I want you to put it up in a mutual account so that I can show Don that we have it, and we'll take it from there. The FBI was a little bit reluctant about doing that because I don't know if the money really existed or they just made a phony account to verify that it was there. That kind of put a stall on the investigation. But in the interim, Al Sharpton goes up to their offices. Reggie and Victor Guerrero's are, remember, Victor Guerrero is an undercover FBI agent. His real name is Victor Quintana, but back then it was Guerrero. And in the meeting, Al Sharpton proposes a drug deal to them. He's got a big cowboy hat on, he's smoking a cigar, and he's talking about drugs in some way. This is all on videotape, and it's been seen on Brian Gumbel's Real Sports. So whatever I'm telling you, again, it's all documented. And it was as a result of this meeting that Al Sharpton became an informant afterwards, because the government came to him and said, hey, you're trying to propose a drug deal, and they turned him into an informant at that time. 100%. Al denies it, and then he admitted, then he denies it. Look, you got to give Al credit. I mean, he is a good talker. Look where he is now visiting, or he was visiting with Obama. He's made a name for himself. So, hey, if he really has changed his life, who am I to doubt that? Good for him.
So, just wanted to share that with you. And like I said, we just need an overhaul when it comes to who our leaders are and who we look up to or look at as people who really gonna try to help us and move forward. Some people, like I said, who's signing your paycheck? Because you're not working for us, you're working against us. So that's all I wanted to say. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day.